Welcome to It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. What is it? It's everything. Everything you want in life starts with courage. Bada bing, bada boom. We're here.
We are here.
We like being here.
We do.
Yes. How you been?
I've been good. Went on vacation.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you go? What'd you do? What'd you bring me?
I didn't bring you anything.
Thank you.
We went on a little trip we took a road trip to, we drove through Savannah and Charleston and up to Myrtle Beach for a week.
Wow. I've heard a lot about Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, you know what? I wasn't that impressed with Myrtle Beach, to
Yeah,
be honest
really?
with you. Like it was a very nice place. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like watercolor, seaside,
All of that.
all of that is just as nice, and it's a lot closer.
Yeah.
So
What about like the surrounding areas? Like, did it look? I find like a lot of people a lot of places have lost their charm post-COVID.
no, I feel like I don't know. It was a family vacation, which is a lot of people trying to do different things. Or wanting to do different things. So it wasn't one of those like girl trips, like sit and relax. It was a lot of going and doing.
Yeah.
And it was more going and doing than I have done in a really long time.
Yeah.
Because I feel like since COVID, like our family has one other family that we get together with like every weekend, and we just grill and get in the pool. And so that like we went, the Airbnb that we rented had like privileges at this resort.
Yeah.
That was, we could walk to it.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a swim up bar. I was excited about, because I don't really ever drink, but I will like have a mudslide at the swim up bar. And I was so super excited about it. And when I got there, it was like, the music was so loud, and it was like my nephew was like, it's like people soup. It was like hundreds of people in this pool, and I was like, oh hell no. Like I can't. I'm gonna throw up. There's people are, it's a swim up bar, first of all, up bar.
So you swim up to the bar. Yeah.
So the bar, I mean, they're in the pool and they're getting drinks,
Mhm.
and there's hundreds of people.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, do you know how much pee is in this pool? Like from people drinking and not wanting to get out of the water? Like, no. Immediately, no.
I think I find that, and that for me, that's definitely post-COVID. I'm so like now I can't stand to be around people. I just see dirt.
Yeah.
I just see dirt. Like we stayed in an Airbnb. So my family's here for about 3 weeks. We stayed in an Airbnb. As soon as I walked in there, and you know how we keep our Airbnbs.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
This okay. You're the okay. Sorry, I hit my mic.
Mm-hmm.
That was another part of this trip.
Yeah.
We go to the Airbnb, and I walk up, and I knew it. I knew when I walked to the front door, it was going to be dirty inside, because you know how I knew it? The front floor mat was like 20 years old, ratty,
no.
like. Here's a pro tip on Airbnb, right? It costs like $10 to get a nice beach hair, don't care, like here for the waves, like something floor mat that you can replace every year during your season with some flowers, make it nice to come into. And then we get in there, and the furniture's like 15 years old. There's like fingerprints and everything all over the chairs. There's stains on the cushions on the chairs. Like the couch was so nasty. The carpet. I was like, I'm not walking barefoot on this carpet. And the handprints all over the walls. And I guess I'm just like, I have a little higher standard now. And so my husband's like, he's the one that booked it. So he
Yeah.
sent and I'll give the lady this. He sent some pictures and he's like, hey, look, here, we want you to know, like, this wasn't us.
Yeah.
Like, this is gross.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, in Myrtle Beach, like, we paid almost $6,000 a week for this place.
Oh, absolutely not. Immediately, no.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. And
$6,000 for the place?
Yeah, for the week. And
how much is their cleaning fee?
I don't know. But she didn't live there. And so I think it's rented like every week during the peak season.
Yeah.
And they just have the cleaners come and clean it right,
Yeah.
right before. So I don't think she had been there in a while.
Yeah.
She was mortified. She was like, I'm going to send somebody over to clean the carpets, to clean the couch, to clean the chairs, like upholstery.
Somebody else must have complained.
But
there was no way.
So we told her, we were like, look, we don't want you to clean the carpets while we're here. Like,
yeah,
we don't have time for that. We can't be out of the place for a whole day for that to happen. But she sent somebody to clean the upholstery and everything, which was a little bit better, but I don't know. It's just like, and then like the furniture was old. The master bedroom, the bed was bad. And it was just like, like you're going on vacation, you're excited to get away. And then it's like, you walk in and our friends went to Colorado and they had a similar experience in Colorado.
Yeah. Because, okay, so we only went, mind you, to New Orleans. Okay. And I was looking, and obviously I was we're very diligent. Like, okay, we're looking for a place, the areas to look and not to look. And New Orleans is undergoing a lot of gentrification, right? So we decided to stay off of St. Charles. Now, St. Charles, that's where they have those nice big like houses. So we were just like the road behind St. Charles type thing. It's close. I was like, we'll be close to the streetcar. And number one, the pictures looked spectacular. It was written, this is a new place, etc. So we got there and the host had said, okay, we've got some construction going on. We got there and when I say my nephew, one of my little nephews wanted to cry because of the surrounding area. Like, obviously, New Orleans sometimes has suffered from, hurricane damage. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the roofs have the blue tops and stuff like that. But in this particular street we're staying, I think some developer has bought the houses. So they're tearing down all the houses that are there and putting up new houses or just doing them up. We walked into the house and you have to go up some stairs immediately. And when we walk into our Airbnb, you smell clean.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a smell that smells clean.
Mm-hmm.
And this just smelled musty. Like it was like, you walk upstairs, they have new furniture, but it was dusty. There were like people who've worn makeup and it's all over the doors. The bathroom was put up. Everything was just cheap. We opened the washing machine because we wash sheets. Like my sister will take the sheets off and wash them before we sleep on them in an Airbnb because you never know. Some people really don't. And I think if you can leave things like makeup stains and all these things, how much attention are you actually paying to anything? Inside the rim of the washing machine was mold and like gunk. And oh man, we went to Walmart, bought new sheets, new towels.
Oh, gross.
It was and I wasn't sure what to say. So I didn't even say anything to the host. I wasn't sure because I think they know they charge a lot for their cleaning fee and don't clean. You should be responsible.
Did you see? I wasn't in charge of the review at the end. Did you because
we can still review. We haven't reviewed yet.
As a super host, we know both of us have Airbnbs. So both of us know
2 super hosts.
We know the importance of the review and we know how it can hurt you as a thing. So it's like you don't want to be too hard on them and hurt their business, but you also want to like
be
warn people to not, like the same things don't happen because if
Yeah.
you're not truthful, the reviews don't really matter.
Exactly.
You know, like
And
so
that's
anyway, this is a lot we're talking about
Well,
that has
anyway.
nothing to do with
But that was a good
what
to look for in Airbnb.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, that's just it's yeah. I mean it's been an experience for my family, just learning things and seeing, like, in the times that we're in, there are a lot of economic strains on people. So a few more people have obviously ended up homeless. And, you know, my nephews seeing that, I think in New Orleans was a bit of a shock. But I think what we've been trying to teach them from that, and I guess, I don't know, maybe this may be a good segue into what we're talking about, is decisions, like decision making.
Yes.
Good decisions, bad decisions.
Right. And how good decisions can compound on each other and like lead you one way in life, and like bad decisions can compound and lead you a whole nother way in life.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure some of us know that when you think of bad decisions, or see if you can think of someone in your life who they're always complaining about bad things happening to them.
Yes.
There's always a story where something happened and so did this to them. Now they're in a bad situation. But when you really look at it, and this, you may be the person.
Yeah. What's that saying? If there's a crazy family member in each family, and if you can't identify anybody else, it's you.
There we go. And it's like people who just sometimes constantly make bad decisions.
Yeah, I think you've got to, like, especially in this day and age, in the economy that we're in, and the uncertainty that we're in with everything going on in the world, with the wars and the, you know, inflation and everything. You've got to prepare yourself, and you've got to make good decisions. Like, especially right now, financially, you've got to save some money. You've got to make, like, just even decisions on whether to go out to eat for lunch or bring your own lunch. Like, that is a big swing in money and things like that. But I kind of just feel like I've had people in my life that I've known over the years that have just, like, I've seen them, and I've just seen, like, you know, you married the wrong person, and then, you know, you married the wrong person, and then you have kids, and then you're, like, stuck, and then, you know, then you have to go through a divorce, and it's a terrible divorce, and then you get in a relationship with someone else that, you know, have issues, or, you know, that's not the right decision, but you follow your heart instead of you following your head. And, you know, it's like, if you look back at all, like, if you look at where they are and you look at the last 5 years of the decisions that they made, it wasn't good decisions.
Yeah.
And that one bad decision ends up turning into another bad decision, turning another bad decision. And then, like, you look up 5 years down the road and you're like, man, like, how did I get here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is super important for us to just talk about, like, and this is what we talk about this all the time, but it's just like, who is in your life
that
you've got to surround yourself with people that make good decisions, that are where you want to be.
Yes.
Or are where you are. Either you're on this journey together, or maybe they're a little further ahead of you. Maybe one of your friends is a little behind you, but they're learning from you, and you're giving back to them, and they're making the same things. They're not pulling you back.
Yeah.
And I just feel like a lot of times I see this in a lot of people that I'm just like, oh man, things were going so good for you. And then
you got that person back in your life.
Or you went out on a limb and took a chance
Yeah.
when you're not ready to take a chance.
Yeah. I was looking up like decision making, and there was an article I read that said there are basically 3 different categories when it comes to why we make bad decisions, and it's looking in further into those 3 different ones and identifying, do I fit into any of those? When you have something that's constantly going wrong, it may be at work, in terms of your career, it may be relationship. So the
finances.
There we go. There are 3 different categories that influence your decision making or bad decision making.
Okay.
Is. So one being the influence of our emotions, where some people like, there are people who are like, oh, something happens and I just see red, and I.
Oh yeah.
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 Or they don't even think in the moment. It's almost like you make a decision on a whim. You react a certain way.
100%.
Somebody did this to you. So it could be even spending money. You do it emotionally. It's, this made me feel this way, or,
Well, and I think you've got to put, and I'm guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, and I'll use this example. I remember when I was 24, I was the head soccer coach at Louisiana Tech at the time, and I was just bringing in my first recruiting class, and I had 18 kids committed to the class, and I got word that one of my commitments was going to visit another school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sent this email out immediately to everybody, you're committed here. We
Mm-hmm.
have money allocated for you. You don't, it's time to stop the visits or whatever. And I did that so quickly. And I regretted that later.
Because it was
emotional
mm-hmm.
thing. And so from that, I learned a huge lesson from that. And not that anything bad happened with any of the other commitments, but I learned that 24-hour rule, mm-hmm. right? When I put that in my life, so if somebody, mm-hmm. I get word of something, and I can tell that I'm very upset about it, I'm not going to respond.
I'm like that.
I have to 24 hours
to think about it.
Mm-hmm. To think what I want to say, to think of other
alternatives.
Yeah, just or where could this person be coming from? Right now it's coming you're attacking me.
Yes.
Or you're coming after me, and maybe I'm not seeing it clearly.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely 24-hour rule on responding
mm-hmm.
to somebody
and
in an emotional
way. That's some great advice. I think I remember one of the podcasts, a recent one, I said, my mother used to say, don't discipline a child when you're angry, because you may go too far, or you may discipline them too harshly. And it's, as you said, it's so important that sometimes when you feel emotional about, it could be something to do with work, or I remember something happened recently and I was speaking to one of my sisters, and she said, well, sometimes you have to take time and think about all the angles before you decide to react to something, because right now you feel this way, you see things through only your eyes. Mm-hmm. You may fail to consider other things, and by thinking you're right to react this way, how could this negatively impact you? Mm-hmm. Think about everything else. It's like when people come out of a bad breakup or something, and you may decide I'm going to go and drink, and I'm going to go and do that, or someone's died. And mind you, obviously those are devastating things, but we become so overcome with emotion that you use it as a crutch and as an excuse mm-hmm. to go and do all these things that
All right. Yeah. Another thing, another example, and maybe somebody else can use this in their business. Maybe mm-hmm. there's another realtor that listens to this, but we constantly are getting called by all these companies to buy their products, right? Mm-hmm. And it's this super hard sales pitch.
Yeah.
And when I was a younger agent, I would feel like pressured into, I'd kind of like be interested, but like felt a lot of pressure of like buying something right away or whatever. And so I made a rule with myself that said, you're never going to sign up for anything when somebody calls you.
Yeah.
And so I tell them, I'm like, hey, I'm kind of interested in your product, but I have a rule that I don't sign up when you call. I'm going to go and do my research on your company and your product before I sign up with anything. And then they're like, oh, but we only have a certain, spots available in your area. And like, you might call back and it may not be available. I'm like, well, that's the chance that I'm willing to take. I'm not going to break this rule of like, because it's a bad financial decision, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have to take you get caught up in the moment,
Yeah.
right? Of the excitement of, oh, this is going to be life-changing,
good
deal.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that one ties perfectly into number 2, which is poor perception of time when we make our decisions. That is, like you said, you take 24 hours to think about how, I really need to do my research because you never know how it could affect you in the future or, So I think there was a study that was, a survey that was done that said, I'll offer you would you rather take, if I offer you $100 now, or if you wait a few months, I'll give you $150. And most people go for $100 now. Because we're so, it's also emotional. You're looking at the now. There's more value in the now than value in the wait or what this could do for you over time. And I think you can take this into investments, into apply it all sorts of ways, but also conversely, the value of time in terms of procrastination, right? Where you push things off so much that you only have so little time to, I don't know, you may have a big project, you want to launch something, I don't know, whatever it is. And you don't take that time to prepare. You've got 2 days left and you do rush work, So I think time.
I think that's huge. Yes.
That perception of time. And the last one, which I think is a big one in bad decision making, is the seduction of social status.
100% nailed that one on the head.
Oh, I'm going to say that one again. I'm talking to you, listener, right now. The seduction.
She's preaching today.
Of social status and influence. How many, and I'm sure this is all of us. I'm sure there's something that you can think about that you've done once in the moment. So one, that's poor perception of time. You haven't thought about how this decision is going to affect you later. Yeah. You also made it emotionally at the time because of how it's going to make you feel. And also because you were, there's a certain ego to it. There's I'm doing this to, I don't know. Oh, I have a perfect example of this. Okay. So my sisters, okay, you guys know, I think like some of you guys know my story already. So I was raised by my siblings. So I'm the youngest of 8, always loved my siblings. They've provided for me, done everything. So having my siblings come and visit me means so much because it's like me showing them
I made it.
Not even that I made it, but I hope I'm making you proud in this is what you've taught me. I've learned all this from you. Like I'm able to make a home from seeing you all make a home. And it's my time to spoil them the way that they provided so many different things for me. So like you want it to be extra special. So I know my sister that's visiting, for example, like her husband is big into TVs. And I have another sister who visit, and her husband is big into like grilling and barbecuing. So I'm in Costco, and mind you, don't need a new TV or anything like that. But there was this nice 75-inch TV, okay? And where they're going to be sleeping is that upstairs suite that, the big one. So I was like, oh man, wouldn't it be nice to take the TV that's in the living room right now and put it up there, and then we can get this big, TV that would just be perfect. And then I saw this, there's this new like smoke grill that you can attach to Bluetooth and it does everything for you. So I was like, oh man, basically I was going to be 2,000 in Costco one time. Thought about it. I'm like, that's a one that was clearly like just driven by
what you knew they would like and be impressed by.
Yes. That's all that was driven by.
Because you wouldn't have done that
if they weren't done. And you know me,
yeah. I know you before today.
I would never have done that.
Yeah.
And it was also partly emotional, that like, it would make me feel this way, but also it's just, but there's no need for that.
Yeah.
They're not going to care.
Yeah.
They're not going to care. So I think like, and that would have been a bad decision at the moment because why?
Yeah. And I think it's so easy to go down like, some bad decisions are not devastating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just depends where you are in your life and what you really focus on and where you're making your bad decisions, because some people just make bad decisions all over the place. Yeah. Some people, it's like they got half their life together and just one area or two areas they're like struggling in, and they continue to make bad decisions in those areas. But it's easy to go, it's a slippery slope to go down, because once you make like a financial, let's just say financially, you have a business idea and you take out a loan to do a business, and then
without thinking, can you afford it or pay you back?
Yeah, you thinking way too positively about your chicken raising business or whatever it is, and you take out this big loan, and then that business fails. Well, then you've got a failed business, but also you have all of this debt.
Yes.
And then it's like, okay, well, then you've got to pay this debt. So what do? You go to the casino and you gamble to try to win the money. And then you end up further in debt. And then you so it can just snowball. Like you get desperate. Like at some point, the bad decisions put you in a desperate situation where you're having to file bankruptcy, or you're owing people money, or maybe you owe family or friends money, which strains those relationships. And because we all know when the family or friends loan you money, they're looking at everything you're doing and everything you're buying, and they're thinking, oh, well, you just went to the beach and you owe me $5,000. Okay. So, it can be your best friend, but that's just human nature. So I guess what we're just trying to say is, like, if you kind of feel like you're going down that path, like, put some parameters in your decision making, like give yourself 24 hours to respond when somebody makes you mad. Don't buy anything on a whim, or if you're going to invest in a product, or you're going to build a business. Like, I have a friend of ours that's their son is starting a pressure washer business. And so he's taking this course and he's super excited. And he's telling me all of these things that he's going to be doing and marketing. And it's all the things that I've learned in real estate. And he's just young and excited and has all this energy. And, I was talking to my husband about it and just telling him how excited I was for him. I said, but in reality, instead of doing all these things that he's excited about doing, he should take his 10 ideas and he should rate them on the least expensive to the most expensive. And he should start with doing these first 4 very inexpensive marketing things first until he builds up a reserve of $5,000. And once he has $5,000 in reserves and he has everything else paid off, he has $5,000 in reserves, then take $1,000 of that and start doing the second tier of marketing that's costing more money. And then when he gets to 20,000 in reserves, then okay, take 2,000 a month and do that and do the most expensive things. But
this sounds like you need to do us an episode on, building businesses. Can we say amen? Yes.
Well, but I'm just saying, like, financially, just going all in on everything can be hard,
Right. Mm-hmm.
especially when you're starting a new business.
Yeah.
So anyway,
but bad decisions. Like, one last thing I just thought of. I went on a missions trip once with a church, and our missions trip was to basically spend a week. We're in Vancouver, on this particular street that is there's homeless, drug use, prostitution, etc. Mind you, on the other side is like the rich side where they have all the
I
fancy
went on that
stores.
street. I went on that street in Vancouver.
Yep.
I have been there.
And basically our mission was to camp out on the street. So we camped out in the church that's on the street. We stayed in the church, but all day we would spend on the street. Mm-hmm. East Hastings Street.
Yep. I've been on that street.
Mm-hmm. And
it's a scary street.
But you know what's crazy? Number one, speaking to the homeless, you realize how they are you and I.
Uh-huh.
And so many of them who I spoke to were people with amazing careers. And it was just a series of bad decisions that left them there. Yep. Some of them were financial analysts. They have families, children. But it was a series of bad decisions over years.
They hurt their back, and then they started taking this, and it led to this, and then it led
to this, or just gambling, or, all those things that it's, unless you stop that pattern and actually take time to address things will keep snowballing. Mm-hmm. And before that snowball or that ball is just going to roll and become so big that it picks up speed and just continues tumbling.
Yeah. And then there's you lost all hope.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I could talk forever personally, but
yeah. Well, I think just kind of just trying to I think my biggest takeaway is just to take your time. Don't be rushed. I think rushing into decisions is probably the biggest thing. You just take your time, think it all the way through. Don't just think about the good things that can happen. Also think about the bad things that's going to happen. And in terms of people and businesses and relationships in that kind of area, I would revert back to one of our first episodes on red flags and just kind of have your eyes open for red flags and, be able to listen to your gut and making decisions of yes, this is good, or no, it's not. Do not kind of throw that out the window and just go with how you're feeling.
It starts with courage, friends. It starts with courage. So listen, from episode 1, if you're catching us in and you jumped in because we have a lot of new listeners, jumped in from episode 40 something, or friend, go back all the way to the beginning.
Binge it.
There are some good ones. Sometimes I go back and binge. I say, oh, we are wise sometimes.
One last thing. I have a shout out to my friend Ari.
Let's go, Ari.
Had the courage to leave a position that she was in and kind of start a brand new venture in life. Wow. And reached out and said she found the podcast on Instagram, and she listened to a couple episodes and she was very inspired. And so we are proud of you and so happy to have you as a listener, and just wanted to give you a shout out, and I hope that you continue listening and that we bring you some joy and maybe give you a little inspiration in your new journey.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Thanks for listening to this episode of It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. If you like this episode of the podcast, visit our website, iswcpodcast.com, for show notes and other cool things.